Hi, good evening. Welcome to the John Gaunt podcast. Tonight, Starmer and his comments on the students who've been protesting about Gaza today. He says they're un-British. But what does that mean? We're talking about broken Britain. Can we come together? And then Robert Jenrick, of course, said he went to Handsworth in Birmingham and in an hour and a half, he didn't see any other white person there. Some people now are saying he should be sacked. The whip should be taken off him. Why? It's just an observation. I don't think it's racist. There's parts of Coventry I could take you to where you wouldn't necessarily see many white faces. Would you be up on a charge for saying that? Parts of Luton where you wouldn't see a white face. What he was saying was there's areas now which are simply all one community. It's not a good thing if we want to be British, as Starmer says. So that's the debate tonight. Not just a single thing. Was he right to say it? A much more complex argument. If you've got an opinion, I'd love to hear it. This is the John Gaunt Show. Join in on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to John Gaunt TV on YouTube, and then you'll never miss a show. Let's start with Robert Jenrick. He basically, we'll come to him in a minute. Let's start with Keir Starmer. He says the student Gaza protests today are un-British. And he asked the students not to go on the protests. Guess what they said? From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which is a Hamas chant. They didn't listen to our supreme leader. But what was the point of words? Just a few days after, two Jewish guys were killed by an Islamist fanatic, a terrorist, which they won't even call a terrorist. And they're still bleating about Islamophobia rather than Jew hate, anti-Semitism. Starmer is just so useless. He should have done what some European countries have done and said anybody who goes on those protests today, if they're a foreign student, we'll boot them out of the country. And if they're a British student, they'll get sent down from university. You can't have a protest like that, even though I believe in free speech. Surely you can't have a protest like that on the second anniversary of all those innocent kids, all about the same age as the students today. And if you look at my little picture behind me, if you're watching this on the TV, there they are. There's the banners from the river to the sea. Most of them have got masks on as well because they're cowards as well as traitors, I would say. And I would say that is un-British. Put it in your diaries. I've just agreed with Keir Starmer. But today I want to talk about British values. What are they? We'll go through it in a moment. So in broken Britain, where immigration, division, separate cultures, and identity arguments, cultural arguments are tearing us apart, what does un-British mean? Or maybe it's easier to say, what is British? What are British values? Have we thrown them in away? Have we not insisted that people must adopt them? Because I think you can still keep your own culture, even your own language, as long as you learn English as well. I'm not saying you can't come to Britain if you still want to go to a mosque. Yes, you can. Or a Polish church or a Jewish synagogue. But you've got to fit in. It goes back to what I keep saying, and I've been saying for about 15 years. Fit in or ship out. I'm saying immigration, especially illegal immigration, where we don't even know who the people are in the flip-flops, division and identity are tearing this great country apart. So I'm asking a question that no one in Westminster will touch because they're scared stiff that somebody's going to go, waste this, like they have today with Robert Jenrick. So this is live. It's unfiltered, non-censored. Let's debate. Let's have your opinion. So Keir Starmer, just before he got on the plane to go to India. Now, remember, Starmer has not made a speech, a proper speech or an address to the British public about the rising tide of Islamophobia, anti-Semite sentiment in this country? Jew hate. Has he? Why? If this had been a mosque that had been attacked, he wouldn't have been off the telly. And in fact, a mosque did get attacked, didn't it? And everybody's been on the high horse about that. I'm delighted to say someone's made a comment. We have to be very careful what we say. But where is it? Oh, where's that comment? Wait a moment. I'll just find it for you because it was absolutely on the money. Have you taken it down again, mate? Somebody, anyway, put up a comment that said, have you seen they've arrested somebody for the mosque attack, the arson attack? It's an Asian person. I don't know if they're a Muslim, a Sikh, Hindu, or whatever. All I know, that's what they've done. They've charged somebody with it. So we do have to be extremely careful. Extremely careful. Have you taken it down, mate? Oh, no, here it is. Elric, it was. Arif Ali Rafiq, a British-born Asian man of Northampton, I won't say the street, has been charged with attempted arson with intent to endanger life. That's the mosque attack. Now imagine if it was Jewish people, which it wouldn't be, attacking Muslim people outside a mosque. Starmer would never have been off the telly. He'd have cancelled his trip probably to India. He's going on a trade trip today / tomorrow. So these protesters, these students, these great unwashed idiots, they are un-British. He's right about that. But the protests have erupted today on the anniversary of the October 7 massacre. Most people, myself included, say it's deeply insensitive. Starmer calls it un-British. But in broken Britain, where division rules deep, what are our British values now? I'm going to read them out in a moment, what they're meant to be. And then Robert Jenrick has entered the fray at the Tory conference. He said he saw no white faces in Handsworth when he was there for an hour and a half. He also said Handsworth was a shithole and full of litter. Well, he's correct. It is. There are places like that in Coventry. The Fosel Road, if you're a Coventry person, you'll know what I mean. There are places like that in Luton, Bury Park. I'm sure there's places all over the country. It's not racist or anti-Muslim or anti-Asian to point it out, which is what he's doing. So his comment has reignited, because it was The Guardian, of course. They got this from an after-dinner speech he did months ago. They've obviously been sitting on it to use it today. I think it's despicable, that kind. It's not journalism. They're not journalists, are they? They can't even spell on the bloody Guardian. But it's ignited the debate over identity, immigration, and integration. And it brings up the question, are we living separate lives? Not with all communities, but there is an aspect to that. I'll take you to Birmingham and we can go and get a curry, a balti, in the famous balti belt. And I'll ask you a question. Would you like to live there? Do you feel safe when you walk through there? No, is the answer. And I haven't got a racist bone in my body. It's lots of reasons for this. Deprivation, racism when these people first came here. But there's no point in pretending that certain areas aren't worse than others. They are. And Jenrick was pointing this out, and he was pointing it out to say, as many politicians, well, a few politicians have in the past, people are leading separate lives. So the only people they meet at school are the same as them. Now, I don't think that happens on the other side of the coin. I was thinking about this today when I walked down the cafe. I looked at this local school near where I live. There's black kids, Asian kids, but majority white kids. They're mixing. But if you go to an area like Handsworth or Spark Hill, Sparkbrook, it's mostly Asian kids. That's not good for society. We need to mix. And my question is it happening deliberately? And if it is, why? So we've got a problem of identity, immigration and integration. And clearly, not all those people on this protest behind me today, which was happening in Glasgow, Edinburgh, I think Manchester, but definitely in most of the London universities, most of those, well, I presume most of them are British students, maybe from different backgrounds, but British students. I saw somebody from the Workers' Revolutionary Party. I thought the Revolutionary Communist Parties, I thought they'd disappeared, but no, they're back. They're back. And they started to sing the Hamas song, the chant, from the river to the sea. They are supporting terrorism, aren't they? What makes them do that if they're getting all the privilege of a brilliant British education? Why do they hate our country so much? So should Starmer have been tougher on the protests? I say yes. I say there was a real chance of there being a major problem, apart from the fact it spreads fear even more in the Jewish community. He should have banned it. He should have banned what's happened today, just like he should have done on Saturday. Because we've got to find shared values. But how do we do that when immigration, particularly illegal immigration, is running out of control? People say, oh, you shouldn't just assume that everybody getting out of a dinghy is a crook, a rapist, a sex offender. Well, what should we assume? Because we don't know who they are. And nor do the authorities, nor do the police, nor do the Home Office. Nobody knows. This is a powder keg. And then those people getting out of the dinghies, how do we sort of say to them, look, you've got to integrate. You've got to mix in. Because have we done that properly with legal immigration? They used to do a multiple choice about what it is to be British. I'll go through the British values in a moment. But here's a serious question for you. Do you still feel British? Do you think the whole idea of being British is an outdated, outmoded idea? Maybe you do. Let's talk about that tonight. Put your comments down in the comment box and I'll read them as we progress and it'll fuel the argument. But Robert Jenrick, what he said about Handsworth, one, that it's a dump. It is. Two, that he didn't see a white face. Well, that's not racist. What, you want him to self-censor himself and not say that? Now, I'm sure, I know there's white people in Handsworth, but the majority population is not white. Now, some people, the Labour Party, are saying because he's a Tory, he shouldn't have brought colour into it at all. Well, that's a bit like the police when they give out the identity of somebody they're looking for and don't mention if they're white, black, or got ginger hair. Well, they do if they're white and they've got ginger hair, but they don't mention it if they're Asian. Well, particularly if they're a Muslim or Muslim name, do they? We know this goes on. And this is how we get two-tier policing and two-tier justice in two-tier Keir, never bloody here, he's off to India again, Starmer's Britain. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Starmer, the Gaza protests, British values, broken Britain, I'll use the term. It's all about UK politics. What did you make of what Robert Jenrick said? Was that free speech? Or was that him sending out a dog whistle to racists? You see, because it all comes back in the end, it's always the white people's fault. That's what Gary Neville was on about yesterday. It's our fault. We're not integrated. That's what he was effectively saying about the flags. Absolute garbage. I'd like your views. And let me just show you what British values are meant to be in this country. There's 5 of them. I got this off ChatGPT. You could get it from anywhere. British values are a set of principles that are widely promoted in the UK to support social cohesion, there's the laugh, democracy and mutual respect. While not everyone will interpret them in exactly the same way, the UK government officially identifies 5 fundamental British values. Listen to these and tell me whether you think we've still got them. 1 is democracy. Everyone has a voice and a right to participate in the decision-making process through voting, debate, and representation. I think that's definitely going downhill. Citizens can influence how the country is run through fair elections and freedom of speech. Well, yeah, as long as the manifestos aren't full of lies. The rule of law, that's number 2. Laws apply equally. This is almost a comedy script. I'm sorry. Laws apply equally to everyone. Are you listening, Sir Keir? And no one is above the law. Are you listening, Sir Keir? Not even those in power. Did you hear that, Sir Keir? Laws protect individuals and maintain order, with justice being carried out through an independent legal system. Perhaps you should talk to the lady who did a tweet full of hurty words at Southport. Perhaps the judges who just came down on everyone like a ton of bricks. Number 3, the principle of being British. Individual liberty. People have the freedom to make their own choices and express their opinions. Unless they're fat, white patriots who like putting up flags, then some has-been footballer called Gary Neville is allowed to call you the trouble, the problem, even after a Muslim fanatic, an Islamist fanatic, killed a couple of people outside a mosque. We're the enemy, not the Islamist extremist. They're not even calling him that yet. Absolute nonsense. You should be able to express your opinions as long as they respect the rights of others. This includes freedoms such as, I'm sorry, it is a comedy script, isn't it? Or religion, belief, speech, and lifestyle. This is the John Gaunt Show. There's only 2 more. Mutual respect. Who wrote this? Father Ted. Understanding that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their background, belief, or opinion. Did you hear that, Gary Neville? Regardless of their background, belief, or opinion. Even if they're a middle-aged, angry, white person who loves the Union flag, Gary. Respecting other people's values, traditions, and viewpoints, even when they differ from your own. That's another part of being British. And the 5th one, this is brilliant. Tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs. Well, I think most of us do that. I don't believe in any religions. I think it's all rubbish. But if you want to pray to a God that spelled backwards is dog, you get on with it. That's a John Lydon quote. But don't think that I have to do it. I'll respect your beliefs and certainly be tolerant. But I'm not, it's like when people want to on BBC London, you really should read the Quran, John. You'll learn so much more about Muslims. I'm not interested. Just like I'm not interested in the Jewish faith. But I don't want innocent Jews slaughtered on the streets of Manchester. Next one. Acceptance of diversity within British society, which is religious, cultural, and ideological. Well, I think we mostly do that, don't we? There are a couple of communities who perhaps don't. Encouraging dialogue and understanding between communities to promote peaceful coexistence. It's a comedy script. I told you that is what is defined as British values. I think we've lost most of them. What do you think? That's the discussion tonight. This is the John Gaunt Show. Please press the like button if you like it. Don't bother coming to my show if you don't want complicated debates, because that's what I like doing. I like trying to get to the nuts and bolts of it. So I'd love your opinion. If you like what I'm doing, please press the like button. The more of those you can do, the faster we go up the algorithm. If you'd like to donate to keep these podcasts going, please just click the $ on the bottom of the video and donate whatever you fancy. If you want to do it another way, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt and whack in whatever you fancy. Usually it's about a £5. Some people put 15 in. You put in whatever you can afford. It's all going to help this keep going. And I'm telling you, we're getting to a point now where we're working for the clampdown. You'll need independent broadcasting. All right. Hope that's got you thinking. Let's move on. So what do you think defines British values? What unites us or should unite us? Democracy, free speech, tolerance? Is it something else entirely, or do we just give up on it and accept, like Jenrick was saying today, that we live separate lives? I don't think we can. because I think that way the United Kingdom just gets more and more divided. Right, here we go. Laura Delaney. No, I do not agree with Keir Starmer at all. It's a big no from Laura. Thank you. He should let us fight to get our country back once and for all. What do you mean by that, Laura? Expand on that if you can. So that mosque attack the other day in the UK says Elrek plays games, and then he talks about the person who's been arrested in charge. I've got to be careful with that, Elric, now, but I understand the point you're making. It clearly wasn't, well, it looks like it wasn't one of the white people that Gary was so concerned about yesterday, that great political thinker who used to play for Manchester United. TV Steve Harris on YouTube says, John, it's sick. We've lost British values. I think that's the kind of conclusion I came to today. It's as depressing as hell, though, isn't it? Jake Morton Brown on YouTube, he says, evening, Gaunty, coming to you live whilst cooking a rare steak. Well, that won't take you long. And don't worry, I'm not doing Yorkshire. You can't have a Yorkshire pudding with a steak. Though don't call me a soft southerner. I grew up down road from yours. Laugh out loud. You're not a Coventry kid. Get out of here. Craig Urquhart, hope your steak's nice. Hello, Craig. He says, Facebook, has Neville had any action taken against him? Somebody has complained, but I don't think there's been any action. And there won't be, will there? I bet you whatever you want, it was aimed at the other side. He'd have been gone in 5 minutes. See, but you're doing exactly what I'm saying. And I'm not getting at you, Craig. We are in different camps, aren't we? We're in two camps. If he had said that about Muslims or black people or Asians, he would no longer be on Sky. He'd have got the sack. Sky aren't even reprimanding him. Why? Because it's attacking fat, working class, white people. Oh, I missed a bit. Men. So that's okay in our tolerant society. Well, it isn't okay, is it? I'd like to get your views on that, please. Just now, a student on the radio said, I don't believe so many died. It's Israel's lies. What you mean when Hamas parachuted in to that camp? You don't believe anyone died. You believe the stories of babies being killed, women having their breasts sliced off. You think that's all made up, do you? Do you think it's made up that they've still got hostages? You do. Not you, Michael, because you're talking about a student. I understand what you mean. As for the woman cutting the yellow ribbons down, she should be arrested immediately. Or is it two-tier care? Well, of course it is. I'm glad you brought that up, Michael. I've got that on my list of things to talk about. Have you seen that? They've been tying the Jewish people yellow ribbons around railings, and each ribbon is meant to represent one of the hostages who's still separated. And of course, many Jewish people and people in Israel don't know if that person is alive or dead. So it's that old tie a yellow ribbon. You know, we've done it loads of times. We did it during the Iraq war, didn't we? And Afghanistan, waiting for our loved ones to come home. Some woman today and last night and first thing this morning was with a pair of scissors, very carefully cutting every ribbon off. They've now found out who she is, and I better be careful. I won't name her because in case she's already been charged. But basically, she's a PhD student, Cambridge, and now at a London university. More brains than anything else. You know what I mean? Brains of 15 planets, but as thick as pig shit when it comes to human decency. She said there's nothing wrong with it. And then another one I saw today, when people have talked about how many people died on that day, he justifies his actions and shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. He justifies that. He's saying, well, the Israelis are killing more than that amount of people every day, forgetting that Israel is separate to Jewish people. He can't see there's a separation. Because what these people want to do is eradicate. They want to drive Jewish people off the face of the earth. That's why they use the word genocide or Holocaust. There's not a genocide. There's not a Holocaust. And if you actually Google this now, you'll see the British government agree with that position. I know some left-wing think tanks say it's that. And I know lots of people have died, and it's horrific. But what would make a very, very clever young woman, go out and cut off people's memories, cut off the ribbons? Why do you need to do that? It's just like, why do you need to protest yesterday, Saturday, or today? You don't. You could show some basic humanity. But the simple facts are, you with the scissors and the yellow ribbon, you haven't got any. And I agree with whoever just said that. I want them arresting that woman. I want her before a court of law. And I want her locked up like people were locked up after Southport. Are you with me or again me? Let's move on. Can't put a fox in the hen house and expect harmony. Just saying. I don't want to agree with you, Paul, but increasingly it looks that way. But there are many communities that have mixed, haven't they? I've got black friends. I've got Asian friends. My daughter goes out with a Hindu guy. I've not got a problem with it. But is there just, I don't know. You tell me. Wish he would stay in India and never come back. She's talking about Starmer, our supreme leader. That was Denise Deacon. Oh, no, that was Annette Locke. Sorry. Denise Deacon says, what's with all this un-British bullshit? Why not call it what it is? Downright disgusting and disrespectful to the Jewish people in this country. Well said, Denise. He won't do that because he doesn't want to upset the Muslims. Why not tell them they can't protest just for one day and arrest anyone that does? Oh, I know why they won't. Because he agrees with them. Well, I don't know if that's fair, Denise. She's talking about Starmer, but I understand your point. Certainly Labour are very, very worried about upsetting that block vote, aren't they? What is Britishness? Warm beer and cricket. John, loving your work. Thanks, says Steve Harris. If you're loving it that much, make a donation. Good evening, John, says Dan Spinks. Good evening. Craig says this division seems manufactured by someone based on the two-tier system. We need to rise above it and protest peacefully. Yeah, well, that's what I'm worried about with this new law, Craig, on Facebook. This new law, things like protesting outside a migrant hotel, that would be banned if you did it more than once. So this new law that they're bragging about, the Muslim lady who's now the Home Secretary, it will clamp down on all kind of peaceful protests. There's no need for it. What we need to have is a moral backbone and say that offends everybody in Britain, and particularly the Jewish community. As you've just said, don't do it today. Don't do it on Saturday. Do it next week. But don't do it. Yes, of course, you've got the right to protest, but haven't you got common decency, you foul bastards? Jackie Ward. I can't see anything wrong with Robert Jenrick's comment. It was a statement of fact. Well, it was a statement of what he saw. And as we weren't there, we don't know if it's a definite fact. But yeah, it's what he observed. He didn't see any white people. What is wrong with that? Was he meant to lie? No, I'll tell you what he was meant to do, which is the latest thing, Jackie, in Britain. He's meant to self-censor himself. So he doesn't say what he really thinks. And that's why now when you watch these debate programs on the telly, everybody's holding back. Or they've prearranged what they're going to say. I told you about a famous case when I don't even remember what show it was, something inconsequential like Alan Titchmarsh in the afternoon. I got there and a very famous talk jock, very, very famous. He said, Gaunty, great to see you. What are you here to discuss? So I said, what it was. I can't remember what it was. He said, what angle are you taking? I said, what? He said, what angle are you taking? I said, same one as I always would. Oh, okay, then I'll take the opposite view. That's not debate. That's conning you. That's cheating you. That's why I don't get on the telly anymore. Sunchild, we will have English rules for a frigging change. That's how I feel about it. In England, as Al Murray, the pub landlord, says, my gaff, my rules. It should be more like that, shouldn't it? It should be. It's just daft. Was there anything wrong in what Robert Jenrick said when he observed there were no white people in Handsworth? Maybe you live in Handsworth, you've got a view. Bill, the discussion should also include white flight. When white families leave inner city areas to live in better quality housing in outer areas. I agree with you, Bill. That's been going on for years. That's why towns like Margate have been restored, isn't it? White flight. No, go to the East End. That's why when I watch EastEnders, I always laugh. Because that's not the East End, is it? Most of your cockneys have already gone. Went years ago. Years and years ago. But we've been afraid to mention it and talk about it. Now, I know that certain areas like that, like the East End, have always welcomed immigrants. Right back to the Huguenots, and then you have the Jews, and people then move on, don't they? In Coventry, the British Asians that first came in the 60s, a lot of them now live in some of the poshest houses in Coventry on the Kenilworth Road and around there. Because they've come, they've worked hard, and they've progressed. That's what happens. That's the nature. But if you go back to the immigrant areas as they are now, I'm sorry. They do have mattresses in the garden. There is shit all over the pavements and all over the streets. There is. There is. And that's not racist. It might be a product of racism, and it might be a product of social deprivation, although I come from Hull. Well, my parents do, and my grandparents, and they were deprived. They had no money. They didn't shit in the street. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? And not every immigrant does do that, of course. But because we haven't got values, because we don't value, or not us, the establishment, because they don't value our passport and recognise that everybody wants it, therefore it's valuable. So if you want it, you're going to have to jump through a few hoops. And we'll decide whether you can stay or not. But I'll tell you what, mate, if you come in a dinghy with your flip-flops, you ain't getting in. Out. Straight away. I was watching that ex-Prime Minister, Tony, whatever his name is, of Australia. And he was explaining to Martin Daubney, I think it was, yesterday on GB News. He said it just worked because we were tough. It's like when I spoke to Bill Bratton, the man who, along with Mayor Giuliani, cleaned up New York. I said, how did you clean up the subway? And he said, one train carriage at a time. I'll use an American expression. They just said, we're not having this anymore. So I heard Trump this afternoon. He was there with the ex-Bank of England governor, who's now the Prime Minister of Canada. What's his name? You know the geezer I'm talking about. And he said, you know, if you come to Washington a year ago, you wouldn't be able to go out with your wife. He was bragging, of course. But he's brought in the National Guard, hasn't he? And he's cleaned up Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you what, I've been to Washington loads of times. Last time I was there, I was walking back. I was with that Raheem Kassam. You know him? Used to be Nigel Farage's sort of PR guy. He's a great guy. Walking back, and then suddenly we got to near where he lives. And the atmosphere, I didn't like it. I was a bit scared. Because you hear about people disappearing and being mugged. No more. He's cleaned up Washington. He now wants to clean up Chicago and New York, because the bottom line is, all you need is a will, and where there's a will, a political will, there's a way. So thank you, Bill, for your comment. Annette Locke, education, more like indoctrination to the left loony crew. Yes, she's talking about our values. Visas have to have a condition attached. No protesting against our country when they come to the UK. Yeah, don't bring their conflict is what you should say, Kim, because protest is very important in our society. And I don't see why protest should be stopped because of the actions of a minority. I don't. That's why I'm against what they're going to do now. It's like, well, I'm against ID cards now. That's why I'm also against this idea of repeat demonstrations, you know, like the migrant hotels. You're going to be stopped doing it. It's targeting the wrong people. It's Starmer again with his attitude. Oh, they can't possibly be baddies. When are they going to wake up, smell the coffee, and realise people, villains, baddies, they come in all shapes and sizes and in all religions and in all cultures and in all skin colours? See, Philip, what's his name? The arsehole footballer? He hasn't got that message either, has he? But we paid his wages. Well, not me, because I'm not a Man U fan, but you follow what I'm saying. No protesting by foreign nationals in the UK. Ban it, says Kim. I've just said that one. Annette says, I'm English. I'm not British. Thank you. If I live in I live in a Muslim area. The Muslims don't talk to me. This is Ross O'Brien. and I'm white. There's a few black people there. There's a few Irish people, and we all talk to each other. But no Muslim talks to me at all. Well, have you tried talking to them, Ross? I'm only asking a question on Facebook. He then goes on to say, last year I put Christmas decorations up and had 3 Asians champing on my door, told me to take them down because of fencing. I'll be totally honest, I told them to fuck off. As this is Britain, this is your Christmas. You don't like it, F off. Then they started talking in the wrong language. I don't know what they were saying. I think that's what he's going on to say. You should have reported them to the police, Ross. The Windrush generation arrived as citizens of the United Kingdom. This is a good point. From Eric Plays Games on YouTube. It took a while, but they integrated. Yeah, but also we were dreadfully racist to these people. But yes, that stopped, and thank God it did. It was horrendous. It feels like the immigrants coming this century, oh yeah, of course it is a new century, isn't it? I understand what you mean, are not, and instead expect us to adapt to their way of life. I think that is one of the things. I think that's one of the things that might be true. It's been a one-way street, but the wrong way. I think that's true. I think it's give and take on both, isn't it? And that's why I think Robert Jenrick's comments today was so important, because he's saying, look, we're leading separate lives, separate cultures. I don't even like Jenrick. I think he's a bit of I don't like him. But I think he was making a fair point, and I certainly don't think he was racist. What do you think? Right, 36 minutes and not one single donation. What's going on? Come on. If you like what I'm doing, help me out, support me by pressing the $ and donating a few quid. Or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. And don't forget, for Buy Me a Coffee, Tuesdays are cut-off day. So if you're thinking of doing it this week, could you do it today? Cheers. Problem is with the laws, Gaunty, the corrupt politicians are the ones who make the laws. Anything they don't like, they will change. Look at the anti-protest law. Jake, that's you've put it better than I did earlier. That's exactly what we're talking about. I thought Lenny Henry got his comedy head when he said we should pay 13 trillion in reparations. Well, you got the number wrong. It's 19 trillion. Yeah, he's off his rocker. But at least he's being funny again, because let's face it, Lenny Henry hasn't been funny since he got married to, what's her name? Dawn French. And she's never been funny. Jennifer. Is it Dawn French? The other one, who was in Absolutely Fabulous, she's brilliant. Father Dead, Ted didn't write it. If he did, they might still put him in the nick. Thank you, Jen. I know he didn't write it. Yes, he did. No, yeah. Ardell O'Hanlon didn't write it. The bloke who played Father Ted. Graham Linehan did. Kim Thomas. Also, Windrush felt blessed to be in the UK. Mostly they were grateful, whereas the people arriving this century arrived with an attitude and a sense of entitlement. Well, I don't think you can say all of them do, but I take your point. And if you've ever been to the West Indies, but especially Barbados, the first time I went there 30-odd years ago, I couldn't believe how much they thought they were British as well, because they were part of the Commonwealth and all the rest. I know it's changed now because they've got independence, but that's how they felt. And imagine what it must have been like to arrive here, cold and wet, and on the Windrush, etc., cliche time coming up. But you understand, and then get treated so appallingly. It must have been pretty dreadful. It's like when I went to India, to be fair. I had loads of guilt. You see all these wonderful colonial buildings, and you think you feel the guilt. Oh, you know, we came here, we built the empire and all that. But actually, most Indian people I met didn't hold a grudge. It was really odd. I don't know if you've ever been, but right, where are we going next? John, this government is boiling my piss, and there's nothing we can do about it. Thank you, Paul. You can listen to my show and get all your friends to listen. Kerry Freeman, you can't pretend what you've seen if you didn't see it. See a white person. Was he meant to pretend that he did? Yes. In caring, sharing, tolerant Britain, you're not allowed to speak the truth. He probably said it and didn't even think about it. Why should he censor himself? He shouldn't. And why take it all as a negative? I mean, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Shut up, John. Let's go to Paul Rowbottom. For far too long, this country has been led by donkeys, jackasses. We, the people, know what Britishness stands for, but the donkeys have constantly watered it down. Yeah, well, that's because they're ashamed of it. They don't want to be British. They want to be European. Here we go. Jake Morton Brown's now clarifies. He says, I'm from Hull. I thought you were a proper East Yorkie. Yeah, well, no, I'm not from Hull. My mum and dad were, and I love Hull. I think it's one of the most wonderful cities in the country, and I love people from Hull. And I did live there for 2 years when I was a wayward teenager, shall we say, until my Auntie Rosemary put me firmly on the straight and narrow. I had 2 of the best years of my life living on Greatfield Estate in Hull. And most of my relatives still live there. Don't see them, but they still live there. Maggie Young, where have you been recently, Maggie? Gary Neville is a Judas to the ultimate. He's an absolute disgrace in this country. Yes, he is, Maggie. You forgot to say another thing. He's also an absolute arse. He was an okay player, well, a very good player, but he had no right to slag off the people who effectively pay his wages. They are lost. As a child, we all knew each other, large family gatherings. Now, with everyone moving away for work or housing prices, everyone has stopped integrating with the neighbours, let alone with immigrants. I think that's a good point. And I think that ties in a bit to the idea of white flight. People who've been in the community for so long, they get you into it. I tell you where that still works so much. I've lived most of my adult life in villages, in Northamptonshire, in Warwickshire, in North Warwickshire. I'm living in Coventry again now. And the difference you find in a village, and I find this when I go to my daughter's house, because she's in a village in Oxfordshire, they've still got that community. They've still got the old first. So when you say, anybody know where I could get such and such? And people say, yeah, me. And in the village where my daughter lives at the moment, they've got a superb Facebook group. And people go on there and go, oh, I've only just moved into the village and I need a bed. And then people go on there and go, oh, I've got a bed. Do you want a single or a double? Yeah, I don't want any money for it, but you can have it. Just come round. Oh, I haven't got any transport. Oh, I'll help you out. It's lovely to witness. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's still there. And I look at the names. Some of the names are like looking at the optician's wall chart. You know what I mean? That's like that joke, isn't it? Polish guy goes to the opticians to get his eyes tested. And the optician says, can you read the bottom line? He says, what do you mean? What do you mean the bottom line? That's my next door neighbour's name. Yeah. Boom, boom, I'm here all week. But it's that kind of thing where they know they just care. So I think it's still there in some villages, but it's not here in cities now. So I think Jenrick was right to say what he said. Jules Bird, loads of smiling faces. Thank you very much indeed. Kim Thomas, eyes and ears are everywhere in Israel. Most of the population have been in the IDF. Thank you for that. TV Steve Harris says, don't forget 2 million Arabs live in Israel peacefully. That's a very, very good point. That's a very good point. Thank you for making it. Joe, who's Joe? John, I think it's meant to be. I believe everything you say. I'm a 78-year-old woman and I'm a widow. And I just don't believe what's happening to this country. It's definitely gone to the dogs. We never had to think about what we were saying, what we would do and everything like that when we were young. We just got on and done it. We didn't have all these problems. I mean, it's ridiculous. Here, Starmer, I mean, it's ridiculous here. Starmer to being shot, I think he might have been if you've been American, but then Trump still, I don't understand the end of that, Carol. You're making a lot of sense. Thank you for it. Try again later. Brilliant comment there. The comment about just getting on with life, that has disappeared. You're right. And the way they try to manufacture it, that everybody's awaiting, it gets right in my wick. Like Robert Jenrick, I don't like him. I think, he's been trying too hard to be Nigel Farage and failing. I think he's a useless public speaker. But I think when he did the litter thing and when he did the videos about people not paying for the tube, I thought he made sense. And I thought it was a public service. And I think what he said about Handsworth is perfectly fair. The BBC, I haven't watched it because obviously I had to come up here and do this. Midlands Today they had a report saying, we asked the people of Handsworth to answer back to what Robert Jenrick said. Well, I can predict now. I'm going to watch it later. I can predict now what that report's like. It won't be, will it? Oh, he's right. Definitely not. It'll be he's wrong and he's a racist. And oh, here we are. We're the BBC. Do you live amongst these people? No, you fucking don't. You hypocrites. Gaza, £4.99. That's a fiver on a super sticker. He's just pressed that little dollar sign and he's donated £4.99. Thank you. Every penny counts. And I thank you for your donation, Gaza. Don't forget, you can do it. Just click the dollar sign or go to www. What's it called again? buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. I'll get good at this one day. Margate restored. John, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but Margate is a dive. I went there the other week. I live down the road. Most filthy beach I've ever seen. That's a separate issue, Jake. If you don't think the house prices are going up in Margate, you need to get some new spectacles, my friend. Ever since Damien Hirst and Tracy Emin, people like that moved there, a lot of Londoners have bought those big houses and are doing them up. I'm not saying it's all roses round the cottage door, but compared to what Margate was like, it's getting better. And there's loads of those towns by the seaside that have got so-called white flight. It's a fact. I don't know why you're arguing with me on that. And by the way, your steak will be overcooked. Terry Wheatley doesn't say anything. Thank you, Terry. Kim Thomas. My dad used to go to the black jazz clubs in London in the 50s. There was a big rock and roll community in those days. Loads of old footage of them mixing. I didn't witness any racism in the 50s and 60s. Some people did, Kim. You can't deny that it was there, and it's good that it's gone. No blacks, no dogs, no whatever, no Irish, horrible. John, I totally agree with you. I wish Starmer could make his trip to India one way. Sky should remove Neville from Sky Sports, but they will continue with this bore. That's what Terry wanted to say. It's come up now. Thank you. John, I hope Sky customers keep cancelling their subscriptions. I must admit, Craig, I'm a bit like that about that. He's made a comment. He was wrong. Is he good at his job? A lot of people think he's crap at his job. I don't want to see a man lose his, admittedly, second or third career. No, I don't think that's right. He's entitled to his opinion, but I don't think... Well, he was wrong the way he put down people who basically paid his wages. One for another show, John. Epping rioters received twice the sentences than the migrant sex offender on GB News. Yeah, I saw that. Maybe we'll talk about that another day. You're right, Craig. But what they did was wrong, of course. They did violent protest, but they got less than the guy who sexually assaulted the 14-year-old. We'll do that in more detail when we got time. Thank you. Drain the swamp, ditch Westminster rules, says Awesome Bricks. Thank you very much, indeed. I like your name. So that's it, unless you've got a comment to make before I go. Thank you for joining in tonight. Thank you for liking the show. Please keep spreading the word and please keep watching all the videos. There's hundreds of them now. I've lost count how many there are. We're at 1.4 million. I know that, even though they haven't sent me the certificate yet. I think tomorrow we might be at 1.5 million. And if we are, then I will be bragging about it tomorrow evening on the show, if you don't mind. Thank you, though, because without your help, your support, and your donations, we wouldn't be where we are. Also, don't forget the most important way you can help, and it costs you no money, is if you haven't done this already, go to John Gaunt TV on YouTube, and the little pop-up comes up and it says, do you want to subscribe? Click it, yes. And by clicking that, then you'll know every time I'm doing a show or an extra show, yeah? Like I did an extra one on Sunday. I think I did one last week, an extra one last week. I'm always here Monday to Thursday at 6:30. Although, to be honest, I nearly didn't want to do one today because I thought that's all a bit boring. Until I thought, actually, British values, that's what it's about, isn't it? Jenrick stories about British values. All of this is about British values. And clearly the guy, the Islamist extremist who killed the Jewish people, he didn't subscribe to any of our values. That's what's got to change. That's what's got to change. Jackie Ward, I always know I've done well when she sent me my 3 red hearts. Thank you, Jackie. Paul Jones says, how do we donate on Facebook? I don't know. You can, but I've never received any money from them. So if you don't mind, I would rather you go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt and do it there. It's free. Well, it's not free. You've got to donate something, but they don't charge you. So that's the thing to do, Paul, if you don't mind. Or join my YouTube channel. That's free as well to join. And then you can donate there. So it's John Gaunt TV on YouTube. You'll find it dead simple. Or alternatively, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. I'd love you to donate. It's very kind of you. Maggie Young, she's had a few days off, but she's back. And I know she's enjoyed it again because she sent me 5 claps and she sent me a sky blue heart. Thank you. Oh, Maggie, you missed me going on about Coventry. How brilliant was that victory the other day? 5-0. It was unbelievable. And we are playing like Brazil, and I mean the national side, not Alan Brazil, which is what we used to play like. Alan Brazil now, not when he was a good player. Unbelievable. That sounded like Alan Brazil, didn't it? Unbelievable. Good night, John. Good show, says Dan Spinks. Thank you. Pam Millett, I wonder where you were tonight. She sent me 3 love hearts, or 3 red hearts. Thank you. Great show as always, John, says Richard Pope. And finally, Paul Jones on Facebook says, will do, John. Keep up the good work. And Maggie Young, she finishes off the best way by saying, Sky Blue Army! Sky Blue Army! Unbelievable, isn't it, that we can brag. And we've got 2 weeks off because of the international break. So we're going to be top for 2 weeks. Brilliant. Up the Villa. We're going to on the Villa. We'll be up there with them next season. Although the way they're playing, they can take our place in the championship. Sorry, I'm over-egging it. I'll leave it. Right, I'll see you tomorrow then at 6:30. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, hey, hey. Don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.